What if I told you the most expensive words in modern business aren't "we failed"? What if they aren't "we're over budget"? What if the most expensive, most strategically destructive words anyone can say are "what's the solution"? It sounds completely backwards, I know. We're taught to be solution oriented. We're paid to be doers and problem solvers. But in my article, The Socratic Scalpel, I argue that our very addiction to finding solutions is the single greatest barrier to meaningful innovation. And this addiction, it's costing us billions. Let me tell you a quick story. It's a story I call Project Apex. A new high energy VP of sales, let's call him Mark, is hired at a SaaS company. 3 weeks in, he calls an urgent all hands meeting. He says, "Our data is a black box. My reps are flying blind. We have no visibility. We need a new dashboard." He demands a solution, and the team, pressured by the force of his certainty, immediately jumps. A tiger team is formed. Sprints are planned. 6 months and $500,000 later, Project Apex is launched with company wide fanfare. 6 weeks after that, the dashboard's daily active user count is 3. The sales team's behavior hadn't changed at all. The $500,000 solution was a complete and total failure. Why? Because the problem was never visibility. As a painful postmortem later revealed, the real problem was that the company's sales compensation plan rewarded any closed deal, regardless of size. The sales team knew exactly who to call: the easy, low value clients who would sign quickly and secure their bonus. They didn't want a dashboard that highlighted the harder, more complex, high value leads. Project Apex was a brilliant $500,000 solution to a problem that never existed. This is what I call in my article the pain point paradox. The moment a problem is loudly and clearly articulated as a pain point, it is almost certainly a symptom, not the root cause. And by demanding an immediate solution, we are, by definition, asking our most creative and expensive people to architect a fix for a symptom. I call this solution jumping, and we are all addicted to it. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 massive hidden costs of this addiction, but more importantly, I'm going to give you the tool to break it. It's a 4-phase framework I call the Socratic Scalpel. It's a method for resisting the solution jumping reflex, deconstructing the real problem, and finally, building things that actually matter. Before we get to the how, we have to understand the stakes. The $500,000 spent on Project Apex wasn't the real loss. The true costs are far deeper. First, there's the massive opportunity cost. Those 6 months of your best engineers' lives are gone forever. In the Project Apex story, a thorny, hard to define user activation project, one that could have actually bent the curve of the entire company, was backburnered. The true cost wasn't what they built, it was what they didn't build. Second, you create strategic debt. That useless dashboard doesn't just disappear. It now has to be maintained. It has to be updated with every API change. It's become a permanent calcified part of your code base, forever obscuring the real problem. You've made it harder to fix the disease because you've built a monument to the symptom. And finally, and most insidiously, you create a culture of cynicism. The engineers on that team, they know no one uses their product. They will be less motivated, less creative, and less trusting on the next project. You signal to your entire organization that high stakes, high effort work can be, and often is, completely pointless. So, how do we stop this? We don't need faster developers. We need a new tool. When we hear a demand, our first instinct is to find a causal root. We use tools like the 5 whys. For example, the reps aren't calling. Why? They can't find the leads. Why? The reports are slow. This is a linear diagnostic tool. The Socratic scalpel I describe in my article operates on a different axis entirely. It's not concerned with the causal chain. It's concerned with the belief chain. It doesn't ask, why did this happen? It asks, why do we believe this to be true? Now I know what you're thinking. The Socratic method sounds academic, or worse, like a hostile interrogation. And this is the central barrier to its use. This is why I call it a scalpel. A surgeon uses a scalpel not to attack a patient, but to work with them, to precisely cut away superficial layers, bypass non-essential tissue, and reveal the true source of the problem. It's a tool of precision and, above all, partnership. So you can't just walk up to a stakeholder and start Socraticing them. The scalpel is useless without an operating room. And that operating room is psychological safety. You have to build this in the first 60 seconds. You do it by explicitly framing the exercise around a shared goal and a shared risk. It's never me versus you, it's us versus the problem. Here's the script I outline in my article. You say, Mark, I'm 100% aligned with you on the goal of increasing pipeline velocity. That is the mission. And because that mission is so critical, I want to de-risk the Project Apex before we commit 6 months and our best engineers' time. What I'd like to do is partner with you for 1 hour to pressure test our core assumptions. My only goal is to make absolutely certain that what we build will solve the problem and that we build it right once. With that one frame, you've transformed yourself from a bottleneck into a co-architect. You've earned the right to begin. In this article, I detail a 4-phase Socratic playbook. For this video, I want to focus on the two most critical phases: preparation and deconstruction. Phase one is preparation. This is an act of pure discipline. While your stakeholder is screaming for a solution, you need to focus on listening and cataloging. You do this by creating a simple visual triage on a whiteboard, 2 columns: what we know and what we believe. What we know is for level one observable facts. We know the old report query takes 4.8 minutes to run. We know the comp plan rewards any deal. These are the bedrock. What we believe is for everything else. This is where you respectfully park every pain point, every hunch, every solution. We believe reps are flying blind. We believe a new dashboard will change their behavior. This simple visual act is often the aha moment. For the first time, the stakeholder sees that his entire Project Apex solution is floating on a sea of unverified beliefs, not on the bedrock of knowns. The pain point is no longer a demand. It's just an item on the list. Now, the scalpel is in your hand. This is phase two, deconstruction. In the article, I detail 5 Socratic plays, but let's focus on the two most powerful. Play one is questions for clarification. Your first incision is the gentlest. You expose vagueness, because vagueness is the hiding place of flawed logic. You'd ask, Mark, let's get precise. You've said the reps are flying blind and need visibility. What do you mean by visibility? What data specifically do they believe they're missing? What does can't find them mean? Does it mean it's impossible? Or does it mean it takes 10 minutes when it should only take 30 seconds? Or does it mean they don't try at all? This drains the emotion from the problem and replaces it with a set of testable criteria. But the real game changer is play two. This is the sharpest edge of the scalpel, the inversion. You take the core assumption and you challenge it head on. The script is this. Okay, we're operating on a belief that reps aren't calling high value leads because they can't find them. Let's run a thought experiment. Just for a minute, let's assume the opposite is true. What if our reps know exactly where the high value leads are and they're choosing not to call them? This question stops the solution jumping brain in its tracks. Mark is forced to defend the assumption. He'd say, that's unlikely. Why would they do that? And you follow the thread. I agree. And it's just a thought experiment, but let's stay with it. Why might a rational sales rep choose not to call a lead that in theory makes the company the most money? Well, maybe they're harder to close, a longer sales cycle. Interesting. And how, just so I understand the system, how is our sales team compensated? And that is when the pain point of no visibility vaporizes. The real problem, the fundamental truth, is not a lack of data, it's a lack of incentive. The solution is not a dashboard, it's a compensation plan. The next two phases, which I detail in the article, are validation and synthesis. You don't just swap one assumption for another. You must validate this new incentive hypothesis. This is where I use frameworks like jobs to be done to find the real jobs the reps are hiring their comp plan to do. And finally, you synthesize. Your final deliverable is not a product, it's a new high-quality problem statement. You replace the old low-quality belief, reps are flying blind, with the new validated real belief, our sales comp plan is in direct violation of our company strategy. This new problem is systemic, it's actionable, and it's the real source of the blockage. Now, this all sounds great in a sterile operating room, but the real world is messy, it's political. What happens when the impatient executive like Mark cuts you off? Look, I don't have time for a philosophy lecture. I know what the problem is. I need to know if you can build the solution, yes or no. This is the moment of truth. My article calls this Socratic maneuvering. You have one and only one move. You must reframe the conversation in their language, the language of risk, speed, and money. You never use words like Socratic method or deconstruction. You use due diligence, de risking, and cost savings. You can time box it. Give me 30 minutes, just you and me and the whiteboard. It's a 30-minute meeting to de risk a 6-month, $500,000 project. That's the best trade we'll make all quarter. The article also details other critical maneuvers. Always use we, not you. Why do we believe this? It's not an interrogation, it's a collaboration, and always stand shoulder to shoulder facing the whiteboard. The whiteboard is the neutral third person in the room. You're not attacking them, you're together, dissecting items on the board. This brings us to the final core concept of my article. There are two paths in any organization. The first is the path of the firefighter. It's the most celebrated. The person of action, the doer who responds to every pain point with a solution. They are celebrated for their speed. They are also, in the long run, strategically irrelevant because all they do is fix symptoms. The second path is the path of the problem architect. This path is quieter, more difficult, and far less visible. The architect is not celebrated for their speed, but for their precision. They are the practitioner who, when handed an urgent solution, has the superhuman discipline to pause, to withstand the pressure, and to deploy the Socratic scalpel. The firefighter reacts to the present. The architect builds the future. In my conclusion, I put it this way. You have a choice. You can be the person who is asked to build a faster horse, and you can deliver the fastest, most optimized horse the company has ever seen. Or you can be the person who has the courage to deconstruct the job of transportation, to find the real problem, and in doing so, clear the path for the automobile. We've really only scratched the surface in this video. The Socratic method is a deep, powerful tool, and what we've covered here is just a high-level framework. My original article goes into far more detail. We're talking the full 4-phase playbook, including all 5 of the Socratic plays and a deep dive on phase 3, validation, and phase 4, synthesis. I also include a second full case study of a fintech company that uses this exact method to pivot from a stale data problem to a trust deficit problem and save their company. If you found this video interesting and you want the full deep analysis, including the scripts, the maneuvers, and the full case studies, I've linked my complete article in the description below. It's well worth the read. My hope is that it gives you the tools and the courage to stop being a firefighter and start being an architect. Thanks for watching.